You're listening to Legal Talk Network.
Hello, and welcome to our podcast live with the ABA section of Antitrust Law. My name is Adam Biegel, and I'm host for today's episode. Joining me now is Renata Hesse. Welcome to the show, Renata.
Thanks, Adam.
Good morning. First, we're going to introduce ourselves. As I said, my name is Adam Biegel. I'm a partner with Alston and Bird here in Washington, D.C., and I'm co-chair of the ABA Antitrust Section Spring Meeting. Renata, would you like to introduce yourself as my co-chair for the Spring Meeting?
Sure. I'm Renata Hesse. I'm a partner at Sullivan and Cromwell here in Washington, D.C., and I am a Spring co-chair along with Adam.
Terrific. Well, we're both glad to be here today to tell you a little bit more about the Antitrust Section Spring Meeting, which is really a unique gem in the world of antitrust law and the world of the ABA. Renata, this is your second year being co-chair of the Spring Meeting, my first year. Could you tell us a little bit about what some of the highlights were at this conference we just completed here in Washington here in March 2019?
So spring is also always very special. This year we did a few things differently that made it a lot of fun. So we had a more informal lunch, which was a nice highlight with a top chef contestant and winner who did a demonstration with the antitrust section chair and then served terrific food after that, which allowed people to both mingle and talk and also watch a very fun demonstration of cooking. In the substantive range, we had enforcers from all over the world with special panels devoted to particular geographic regions. We had an ASEAN session. We had a Latin American session. We had the chairman of China's SAMR who gave a talk and then had a moderated session with Bill Baer and Bill Kovacic. We had consumer protection panels. We had every kind of session you can imagine, ranging from presumptions and their impact on how antitrust cases get litigated, vertical challenges. We had a session on LabMD and Kokesh. We had fundamentals class sessions for people who might not be particularly familiar with either the antitrust in general or with, for example, intellectual property. We had sessions on cartels. It was really we had a full range of antitrust education.
Right. It really is staggering when you look at the numbers, too, that have just come out from the ABA. You know, we knew on the planning side that we had over 65 different sessions with over 300 speakers, and you always roll the dice a little bit about how many people are going to be interested in what we're putting forth, but really it's set another record this year, I believe. Isn't that right? Who comes to the spring meeting to hear all this good substantive content and enjoy all of those sessions?
So we did set a record. I think we had more than 3,500 lawyers here and economists here in D.C. for spring meeting this year, which was spectacular. I keep saying every year spring gets bigger and bigger and bigger, which is fantastic. There's terrific networking events. There's, terrific substance, lots of people mingling and talking. And, there really is something for everyone here. So whether you're a law student or a lawyer who's interested in antitrust, but maybe not sure that you want to go down this path, or a very, very experienced practitioner, there are sessions at every level. So as I was saying before, there's fundamentals, but there's also very specific and specialized sessions on, leniency, for example. So there is something for everyone here.
Right. One of the things I know that draws a lot of people in are those practical sessions you were talking about. Not only is there the mock trial where people get to witness some of the best advocates actually presenting a case before a real federal judge, but I think going on right now here on the last day of the conference is the mock data breach presentation. So there are all sorts of things that I agree that people who are veteran practitioners to law students can really learn from and enjoy. One thing that's also a highlight of the spring meeting every year is the spring dinner. Can you tell us a little bit about the festivities last night that people might want to know about?
Sure. We had a terrific time at the dinner last night. We had obviously the usual events of recognizing the past chair. So John Jacobson was given a beautiful plaque to hang at his house, commemorating all the great things that happened last year in his time as section chair. We had a hilarious comic. Tig Notaro was here, and I think people are still trying to figure out whether the thing about her piano being unplugged was a part of the show, part of the act or not part of the act.
Well, we'll have to ask the Marriott Hotel electricians whether that was deliberate or not.
Yeah, she was fantastic. I mean, it's a hard room. There were probably 500 people in the room, and it's very, very big, and it's a bunch of lawyers and economists. So she rolled with it. She was really, really funny. We had our after-dinner dessert and beverage buffet event, and we had a band led by the FTC's director of competition, Bruce Hoffman, and some other fun visitors. So it was fun.
Now, you know I have to call you out and ask who one of those special visitors was.
There were no special visitors by the name of Renata. None.
And there will be no videos of that posted to social media, I understand.
No, none.
So for a conference this large, which I know some leaders of the antitrust section bill as the largest antitrust and consumer protection conference on the planet, in the words of Alan Van Fleet, how does this all come to be? I mean, I saw it this year with you, but you've had double the experience I've had in doing this. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about how a conference like this that spans all of those interesting subject matter areas in antitrust and consumer protection with judges and United States government officials and foreign officials, how does it all come together? This does not happen overnight.
The planning process for spring is actually quite extended. It starts in the summer at the post-annual meeting. So if you get involved in antitrust section leadership, one of the first things that you'll get involved in when you start is planning spring meeting. So we ask for suggestions for particular sessions. We did it a little bit differently this year, which was fun. We knew there were certain topics that were just going to be front of mind for people at spring. So we sort of said, don't give us proposals in this area. Give us proposals that go beyond those particular areas. And then we assigned the known topics to particular committees. But you really get an amazing range of proposals, of substantive ideas from people for a variety of sessions. And then the spring co-chairs, working with the section head, we go through the list and we try to work out a plan for spring that involves enough substance in particular areas, so mergers, international, IP, consumer protection, and cartels. And then we work out how to choose speakers that will be both informative, but also maybe some new faces. So we have, as you were mentioning, we have federal judges who come, but we also have some new lawyers speaking at spring this year who have never spoken at spring and never moderated a panel or a session. So it's actually one of the most fun parts of planning spring is figuring out what the sessions are and who we want to, both inside the leadership and outside the leadership, who we want to put up in front of people who are coming to hear about spring. So that whole process probably takes us into the end of the year. And then we work very, very closely with the staff of the antitrust section, who are fantastic.
Yes, we can't say that enough.
Yeah, no, that we really, they do an amazing job. And, I would say 80% of what makes spring works is the efforts of the staff from the antitrust section who, figure out where the sessions should go and what size rooms and what we're going to have for dinner and, who's going to do podcasts, who's going to man the bookstore. We have a pro bono lounge that they help us put together. The effort of the staff is really incredible. By the time we get to March or April, whenever spring is, usually things are pretty well in hand. I like to, the Wednesday morning is a little bit, you're a little anxious, you start. But by the time we're into Thursday, things are rolling and it's pretty, it's like a well-oiled machine.
Speaking of how spring meeting comes together, if some of our listeners are interested in participating in or attending future spring meetings, when is that going to occur and how should they keep their eye on that?
So I think the best way to do that is to, get engaged in the section, go to the section website. You can join committees. You can sign up for listservs. You can go to Connect, which is one of the social media platforms that the section uses to communicate with people. And really it's, wherever you are in your career, whether you're an economist working in a consulting firm or in the government or a lawyer working at a law firm or in-house or internationally, there tend to be people in spring who are involved in spring or involved in the section in every one of those places. And just reaching out to people and saying you want to get involved and you want to think about how to come. It's usually in March or April. And you just keep your eye out and sign up and come. It's a great time to be here.
Terrific, and always in Washington, D.C., and this is where, as they say, consumer protection and antitrust comes together. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of our program. Renata, I want to thank you for joining me today. One last thing, if any of our listeners have any questions or want to follow up with you with questions about spring meeting, how should they contact you?
So you can get me at Sullivan and Cromwell on the website, www.sulcrom.com, and feel free to shoot me an email.
Okay, and the same with me, Adam Biegel. Information to contact me is available at my firm's website at www.alston.com. Well, this concludes another podcast with the ABA section of Antitrust Law. If you like what you heard, please join us in person at some of our upcoming conferences, including the spring meeting, and details are available at ambar, that's ambar.org/antitrust. I'm Adam Biegel. Until next time, thank you for listening.
The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.